Okay, greetings, y'all. I hope you all are doing well. So typically, we use a Zoom link to go live as we do our spiritual study about the color purple, and we center ourselves in this story as survivors of sexual assault and as Black women and women of color, of course. But for some reason, it didn't work out. Something is wrong with my Zoom account. So I'm going to figure that out. So I just figured that I would go live. And if you all have any questions and concerns, you can automatically comment on this, and we'll go from there. Nora, is that you? Girl, allow your viewers to request to join. Yes. Okay. Okay, so it's Nora. So, okay. Of course, I wanted to ask you all, did you read? Did you read, Nora? This I don't know what's going on today with these things. It's just not working out. Okay, so I typically like a group conversation, but because again Zoom isn't working, we're just gonna do this a different way, and I'm not gonna hold you guys for long, right? So one of the things that I want to talk about a couple of weeks ago, and I know we've been away for 2 weeks from this study, but I'm trying to get. No, I didn't read. It's okay, boo boo. It's okay. I'm trying to get more consistent, so we'll be doing this every week, and I'm going to outline a actual curriculum for us so that you all will know what to expect, and hopefully that will encourage you guys to read when you have a chance, right? So one of the things that the violence of sexual assault steals from us, not only does it steal the confidence that we hold within ourselves as divine being, as women, it also has a tendency to threaten the confidence that we have in our body and our intuition, right? But on a broader scale, when we continue to go up the ladder of the traumatizing effects of sexual violence, we have a hard time accepting pleasure. And the last time we was in a group, we talked about pleasure. So I wanted to talk about what do we do in the absence of pleasure as survivors of sexual assault, right? So we have to do a lot of reclaiming around pleasure, right? We have to get to the point where we realize that we still own our body, that we still own our sensuality and sexuality, that we have to reclaim who we are, not just internally, but outwardly too, right? We have to reclaim our womb, and we have to reclaim our body, right? Which is a lot of work to do. So one thing that we can do in the absence of pleasure, right, is to go back and to remember what pleasure was before the actual assault occurred. And if you did not know pleasure then, you can now define pleasure, right, for yourself. If you are a survivor of sexual assault that is sexually active, right, that is not the only way that you receive pleasure. Pleasure comes in different forms, okay? Pleasure comes in reading a good book, lighting a candle, smelling your favorite fragrance, sitting outside, honoring your ancestors, embracing the wind as it passes by, right? Being in the water, right? It's different ways that you can experience pleasure, right? So I don't want you to conclude that pleasure is only about your sexuality and sensuality. It is not. It is not just about an orgasm, right? In my mind, there's different ways that you can experience orgasms. You can experience them spiritually, mentally, and emotionally as well if you get creative enough to do so, right? And if you believe that you could do so, you position yourself to do so, right? So I think that in the absence of pleasure, we have to consider other ways to receive pleasure that will lead us to reclaiming our bodies to receive that sexual pleasure that we actually desire. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied right now. So I think it's a big jump for us to say, I'm going to reclaim my body and I'm going to be okay with having orgasms or having sex with partners, right? That's a big jump for many of us to make, even years after sexual assault. And many of us engage sex after sexual assault and really don't know what our intentions are for actually engaging. We're just trying to feel something, right? So as a survivor of sexual assault, I suggest that you become extremely intentional about your sexual practices, right? Because why? Because sexual violence is also heavily intentional, right? And to reclaim our power from sexual violence, we need to be intentional about our sexual power. Like, what is sexual power to you? How is it defined? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How does it taste, right? What is sexual power to you? And you don't need anybody to indulge your sexual power, honey. You can get you a little toy. You can go in the bathroom in your tub, and you can have you a good old time by yourself, right? It doesn't have to include anybody, right? The liturgy. No, I make a note to what I'm talking about now so I won't forget, please. I just said something about sexual power. I'm going to come back to that. But the liturgy, the piece of liturgy that I posted today was your call to worship, right? And when I talk about worship, when I think about worship, I think it has two parts, right? I think it has a part of being educated, being aware, and this education and this awareness leads to an action, right? So I'm calling you to become aware so you can engage in the act, which is worship, right? So it's your call to worship. It is, here's your wellness, here's your education. Now, what are you going to do with it to center yourself, which is centering spirit? And when you center yourself and you center spirit, you are in a place of worship and praise, right? And the reason I say this is because I am spirit in the flesh. You are spirit in the flesh. Spirit and I are one, right? Just like you and spirit are one. When we take care of ourselves here in the natural, in the physical sense, right? In this sense where we are both human and divine, we're both human and spirit. At the same time, we are spirit in a physical body. When we take care of ourselves holistically on this side, we take care of ourselves fully in the spiritual aspect on the other side. So we take care of ourselves on this side of heaven, we take care of ourselves on the other side of heaven. And when we take care of ourselves on this side of heaven, we are taking care of God on this side of heaven. And we are also giving praise and honor to God on the other side of heaven, right? But in order to center ourselves, right, in order to know that I am my first offering, because the first gift that God gave me was space, meaning... So let's back up a little bit. So in the book of Genesis, right, it's the first creation story. This is for the Christian context, right? So God had these moments, these steps of creation where he created the heavens and the earth, and he separated the waters from above the heaven, from below the heaven, right? He called vegetation to come forth. He called cattle and animals to come forth, right? And everything had a place, everything had a purpose, right? But before God engaged this immense of creation, God had space to create. You always need space to create. So God saw a gift. God saw space. And in that space, God created, right? God gifts you. God gifts you with what God already has. So the first gift that God has given you is space. And what was that space? In your mother's womb. The first space that God has given you was in your mother's womb, right? So in that space, you were cultivated. You were created, right? You manifested yourself from spirit to an actual baby, right? You manifested yourself in that process, because at that time you were spirit, you were energy, right? You were spirit, you were energy. So you manifested yourself, right? The second gift that God gave you, right, was yourself. That's the second gift that God gave you. First gift, God gave you space. The second gift God gave you was yourself. How do I know that? Because when God created, God didn't need no help. God was like, okay, I'm God. I can do this. I can manifest this thing, right? So God looked in God's self, looked within God's power and created, right? When you were in your mother's womb as a seed, you were a seed and you manifested yourself. You created yourself into an entire human being, because you just that dope. You just that divine. You just that fucking magical. You just that immense of amount of energy, right? So the first gift is space. The second gift is yourself, right? The second gift God gave you is yourself, but you neglect yourself. We don't prioritize ourselves. We don't know who we are. We don't know our authenticity. We don't know that. Why? Because we are taught to neglect ourselves. As black women, as strong black women, we are socialized to be extremely good servants and caregivers to other people. But what about us? Well, what about us? Right? Women of color, right? In the Latinx culture, you are trained to be good daughters. But can you be a good person to yourself? So your call to worship, right, is to know yourself. And when you get to know yourself from your womb, you get to know yourself from the womb, right? So the third gift that God gave you is seed, right? You were cultivated in your mama womb, then you was pushed out. So you were born with a womb. So you was born with seed. So you was born with space to create and to not manipulate, but to reproduce, right? And I don't care if the doctors have, if the doctors declared you to be barren as a woman. You're not barren. You're not barren, right? I believe that even if you think that you can't push a physical baby out right now, like if you get attuned with yourself and believe that spirit can actually heal you, I believe it can happen, right? But you got to believe that. And even if you don't want it to happen, you don't want to push no babies out, there's other ways that you can birth manifestation, right? You are energy. It's not a goddamn thing that you can't do. You are energy. There's nothing that you cannot do. It's all in your head, all in your subconscious, right? You already free, right? All you have to do is move the socialization, move the trauma, remove the oppression, and decolonize, boo, and you will see that you was born free. You was born energy. And all these things that surround us, that cripple us, right? That is the bondage. Sexual violence is about power, and that type of power seeks to leave us in bondage. But if you get to know yourself from your womb, right? If you get to know yourself from your womb, it won't no longer have a power of you. Are you going to just snap your fingers and it's all going to go away? No, ma'am. It don't work like that. It just don't happen like that. It's work, and the work doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be exhausting. It's just work. I was healing myself before I knew I was healing myself because I was determined, like, I'm finna get free. Right? That's what I said in my subconscious, and I just started doing things. It took my Reiki teacher to tell me, girl, you've been doing work. Right? And we had to outline it. That's why I can help people, because I'm like, girl, I've been there. Let me tell you what I did. And when I help people, I'm like, girl, that's what I did, and I'm just not realizing it, right? Because in my subconscious, I was like, I'm already free. I just need to get into it. Right? So let's go back. So first gift God gave you was space. Second gift is, the second gift, what I just say? It's yourself, right? Then the third is seed, right? A third is seed. You're supposed to be reproducing. You're supposed to have some disciples somewhere, right? But the reason many of us can't do our ministry work is because we're socialized and we're oppressed and we're traumatized, right? But if you get all that shit out the way, you're unstoppable, right? And I was talking to my Reiki teacher today, and I was like, I believe that a lot of us are crucified to the cross, right? And I'm not talking about crucified in the way that Yeshua, the African Messiah, was crucified. No, I think a lot of us are crucified because, for one, we're black, right? You're woman, and many of us are queer, right? So I believe that we are nailed to the cross, right? You a free person nailed to the cross. Christ was a free man nailed to the cross, right? But his reason for being crucified is much different than ours. Much different. Was his an injustice? Yes, it was, right? Yes, it was. But, no buts, it was an injustice, right? But this was his destiny, to be crucified on the cross. It was never a spirit's intention or our destiny for us to be socialized, nailed to the cross. It was never spirit's intention for us to be traumatized, nailed to the cross. It was never spirit's intention to us to be colonized, nailed to the cross. It was never spirit's intention for us to do that. If it was, it would be no point for Yeshua dying on the cross. It would have been no point. Christ did all of that, right? But the world is trying to do something else because black, indigenous, queer people of color, when we realize we free, when we realize we already free. Honey. Okay, church, it's just me and you, but okay, amen, right? So, I was talking about sexual power, right? When we know the intent of assaulters is to exude their power over us, right? In an attempt to harm, that takes an effect on us, and we need to sit with that, deal with that, heal with that. Right? We need to sit with that, deal with that, and heal from that, right? But because we know their intentions, We can create intentions for our own that will break that bondage of the power that your assaulter exuded over you. What are your intentions for your body? What are your intentions for yourself? Many of us don't have no intentions for ourselves because we don't know that we're our first offering. Okay? We don't know that. So, when we talk about reclaiming pleasure, you need to have some intentions around it. I know a lot of people that got a lot of businesses, right, that are not prioritizing their healing. And I'm just waiting on them to come to me. I'm like, it's okay. They're going to realize it soon, right? They're going to realize it, and it's okay, right? Because we really, truly ain't decolonized yet. It's okay. You still operating in colonization. I don't know what they doing in their personal time. Maybe they doing some work. But I'm just looking at them. They're going to come to me real soon, and it's going to be okay. And I'm going to accept you with gentleness and compassion and loving arms because I've been there and I understand. That's how I see it, and I know you on your way, right? So, what are your intentions about restoring your pleasure? You want to make this a priority, or you want to leave it by the wayside and get this money? You can keep getting this money. You keep getting the money, but I bet you get more money when you prioritize your healing. I bet abundance comes to you in multiple forms in a big ass load when you prioritize your healing. When you rest, when you play, when you learn to do things from a place of ease, when you get out of productivity, right? Get out of productivity. Get out of productivity. You can get a lot of more shit done outside of productivity. Productivity brings about so much worry and anxiety. But if you do things with ease, honoring yourself first, on my schedule, I'm not taking any appointments from 8 to 12 because I'm not going to rush my healing practices. I'm not going to go, oh, girl, you got to hurry up because you got a call. No, you're going to get to me at 12 because I'm prioritizing my healing. I'm prioritizing my healing, and my day goes much smoother. This is not to say I don't get frustrated at times. I do, but when I do get frustrated, I don't carry on. I go on and journal that thing out. Why am I getting frustrated? Because I don't want this energy. It has to take a back seat. It needs to leave my house. What are your intentions around your pleasure? Right? And when you talk about pleasure, you got to talk about yourself. So what are your intentions with yourself, survivor? You just going to keep surviving, or you going to live? Right? Because that's a thing. Right? That's a thing. You've been sexually assaulted. Now you're a survivor of sexual assault. That's a double-edged sword. You have to suffer. Now you're surviving. But you're still in bondage. When you going to live? When you going to live? And you live by setting your intentions for yourself. By becoming a lover and a friend to yourself. By setting intentions for what it is that you need. How do you want to feel today? What do you want to do today? What is going to benefit you today? What is going to serve you today? You can reclaim your pleasure if you set your intentions around it. And if you make your pleasure fluid, right? I'm going to have me a little fun tonight with my pleasure, right? But I also had pleasure sitting outside. I had pleasure learning, right? I had pleasure on the way home listening to that Beyonce album, the Lion King album. I had pleasure. I was like, you know, I'm just going to go live. That brought me pleasure today than fucking around with that Zoom, right? So, what you going to do, pimp? You going to set these intentions and reclaim your pleasure? Or you going to keep playing? What you going to do? And the reason, and pleasure should never be absent from your life. It's something that you're worthy of. It should never be absent from your life. And the reason I said that, because I ain't even got to chapter 36. I'm still on 35 in the book. On page 77, I think this is letter 35. So this is like in the middle of the letter, and she says, "You're really speaking to me right now." Ashe, boo, Ashe. It says she started to lie. Okay, where am I start? I'm just gonna start from here. It says, and of course, it's like 100 words before here, and it says she start to laugh, do his business. She say because Suge asked Celie, "How does it feel when Mr. have sex with her?" Right, and Celie said, "It seems like he do his business." And then Suge said, Suge said, "Why, Miss Celie, you make it sound like he going to the toilet on you?" Celie says, "That's what it feel like." Suge stopped laughing at that point. And she says, you never enjoyed at all? Not even with your children, Daddy? And Celie say, never, I say. Then Suge says, why, Miss Celie, you still a virgin? Right? She was a virgin. Remember, her stepdaddy assaulted her twice, had 2 babies by him, and then she's laying with a man out of submission, right? Celie has been raped her whole life. Celie has never known pleasure, the absence of pleasure, right? And sexual violence has probably encouraged us to not engage in sex. We probably have had sex, but have we really been engaged in sex like we want to? Like, I can't wait till I have sex. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I like women, right? But I've never been with a woman, and I can't wait. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been thinking about this for a long time. Even when I was with a man, I was like, I really want to be with a woman, right? So it's like the absence of pleasure. And it's not saying that I wasn't pleased when I was with men, yeah, but I ain't never had no orgasm, right? For one, I ain't know my body. Nobody taught me to know my body, right? But now that I'm learning my body, right, I'm going to have say-so. I have agency over the type of pleasure I want to receive. And I have the right to put intentions behind it. Before, I didn't know that. Because when I was having sex with men, it's like, well, this ain't really about me. It's about them. And you know how many young girls, how many young black girls out here doing that same thing? I hate that. Like, I really want to talk to them, like, no, boo, if you're going to be doing this, let's learn your body parts. This is your clitoris. This is this. This is that, right? Come on, learn about self-pleasure before you go and give your body to somebody that really ain't trying to give you pleasure. Are you in relationships with folks that are trying to give you pleasure, right? Hold on, let me see if I can, how you do this? What's this? Nope, that's not what I want. That ain't what I want either. What's this? That ain't what I want. Okay, let me pull up this real quick. Let me tell y'all this quote. Since we focusing on womb healing this month, let me tell y'all this quote real quick. I put it up yesterday. Because the relationships that we hold influence our pleasure as well. And this is a quote from Sacred Woman. And Queen Afua, I don't think I'm saying her name right. Afua. Afua, I don't think I'm saying it right. But Queen Afua is the author of Sacred Woman. And she says, the condition of a woman's womb also reflects the condition of all her relationships. When a woman's womb is in a healthy state, her life is a reflection of this balance, right? And we are out of balance. We are out of balance if we're not receiving pleasure in all its forms. The condition of a woman's womb also reflects the condition of all her relationships. What relationships are you holding, right? Are those relationships requiring you to shrink? Do you have space to speak? Are you seen and heard in these relationships? Are they requiring that you be submissive and silent? Like, what is going on in the relationships that you hold? Because sometimes some relationships can be too stressful where pleasure is not even on your mind. Surviving is on your mind. You should not be in any relationship where it's just calling you to survive, right? And when a woman's womb is in a healthy state, her life is a reflection of this balance. Like, what balance do you have? Do you have any balance? What balance you got? Right? And your womb knows if you're in a healthy state, because everything that you take on, the stress, the hate, the marginalization, the oppression, all that lives in your womb. All of that lives in your womb, right? All of that lives in your womb. So when we go through a process of recovery, not only are we dismantling all the socialization, oppression, and trauma that lives around our womb, we are actually going through a cleanse of cleansing our womb so we can actually make space for our seeds to actually prosper and grow, right? I'll show you an amen. Your womb holds a seed, but it ain't got no good soil, because everything within your womb is trauma, is oppression, is socialization, is the hate you give yourself, is what you receive from other people. You ain't being fruitful because you don't have no good soil. And it ain't your fault. Sometimes it is your fault, because we know we need to leave some trifling niggas alone, some trifling men alone, some trifling women alone. We know where some work relationships ain't what's up, but we stay in them, so it's not really our fault. We stay in them because of the norm we have grown up in, because of the toxic norms we have grown up. No, because of the toxicity that has become a norm, right? And when toxicity and abuse becomes a norm, we really don't see it like that anymore. We see it as normal, and it ain't normal. This is why we need to recover, so we can heal. You can't heal without recovering. You got to go back and get your shit first. You see what I'm saying? You got to go back and get your shit first, right? So the condition of a woman's womb also reflects the condition of all her relationships. When a woman's womb is in a healthy state, her life is a reflection of this balance. What is your life reflecting? How does your womb feel about sexual assault? Have you ever asked your womb that? Maybe you should put your hand on your heart, put your other hand right below your navel and right above your pelvis, and ask your womb. Write it down. She speaks. She knows your story better than you do, boo. She knows it better than you do. So people say that the body keeps the score based on this new book that's out, and I do believe that. But I believe that the womb keeps a deeper generational score, right? Because what's reflected in our body stems from our womb, and what we reflect in our speech and the way we think and the way we perceive and the way we give and love, it stems from our body. So here's the womb, then here's the body, then here's the outternal stuff, right? So the true source of everything lives here in the womb. That's what we need to get to, right? That's why I'm doing spiritual womb healing, because that's the root of the thing, right? Your womb has been crucified, and that ain't what it's supposed to be, okay? That ain't what it's supposed to be. So, what's your intentions around your pleasure, honey? What you want to do about it, right? You need to make time for pleasure. You need to make time for pleasure. Don't be too productive where you can't make time for pleasure, boo-boo. No, don't do it to yourself. You are your first offering, so what you gonna do with you? What's your intentions? What's your intentions? And that's what I got. That's what I got for you. Hope y'all enjoyed it. If y'all have any questions or concerns, of course, comment. Thank you, Nora, right? For my church. All it takes is one. Ashe and amen. And I'm glad you came, boo-boo. I'm glad you came. And I love you, Nora. I love all y'all. I am y'all pastor. I is a preacher. Show is. You know what I'm saying? Sunday at 12:12, I'm going to be talking about, darn, it's on my phone. I got the title. Here it is. Abundance is crowning. Abundance, this is the title. Quote, abundance is crowning, heaven is in your womb. Abundance is crowning, heaven is in your womb. How did I get there? Because I was listening to the Beyonce song Spirit, and she said, Spirit, watch the heavens open, right? So when she was saying that, I was imagining myself giving birth to my baby. And as I was imagining myself giving birth to my baby, my seed, and as my baby was crowning, heaven was opening, right? So abundance is crowning because that's my seed. And within that seed is many other seeds and many other generations. And we are nothing but ancestors reborn, right? So that's abundance within itself, because this is not our first lifetime. Get with that, right? So abundance is crowning, heaven is in your womb. That's what we're going to talk about Sunday. And I think something in Genesis 1:2 is going to be my scripture. So let me know. Now let me know. I hope to see y'all there. Okay, I'll keep talking all night. So I'm going to go take my bath. You know what I'm saying? And I hope y'all have a good night. Peace. Love you, Nora. Bye.